I'm giving away $10 cash to a random winner in the comments of my most recent giveaway video, and every time that video gets another 10,000 views, we're going to have another winner. So all you need to do to enter is click the link below and watch the video. Hi again then guys, and welcome to another look back to Spirit of Le Mans, a series which stands apart from the premium and super premium cars that I've also revisited in GT6. That series is more for the cars that I believe can come back, whereas this one and the ones for the other prototypes tend to be more just a revisitation of the first car review series we ever did on the channel, where it really all kicked off back in the potato cam days, kind of an homage to that series and a walk down memory lane as far as the channel goes. Now, Audi, if you think about it, has a very, very strong showing when it comes to prototypes in this game. We've got two different R8s, two different R18s, and two different R10s. That's pretty strong. In fact, a much stronger lineup than most people would think. But of course, with Audi's domination of Le Mans, especially in the 2000s and even some of the 2010s, it's appropriate to have that many cars. Although, of course, I do have some issues with stealths and chrome lines and those kind of things, but still, I can overlook it in some cases, and at least the Audis are still very good across the board. Now this one, speaking of very good, is often considered to be kind of the opposite. Not as good as the regular R8 from 2001. This is the 2005 Team Oreca version, with the full PlayStation livery of course, most notably a different rear wing, very different wing supports as well, due to, of course, a change in Le Mans regulations. Now, the weight is also higher on this car. It weighs more than the 2001, which is a 900 kilo car. This one weighs 950. That's quite a lot more. 50 kilos for a prototype is a pretty huge ballast to be working with, and that means that this is only about 50 kilos less than something like a Nissan R390, which is one of the heaviest prototype style cars in the game. Now this one does have a lot of power to make up for that, 1056 horsepower fully tuned. It's also got a massive 882 pound-feet of torque. The engine is a 3.6 litre in a similar way to the 2001 model, and the PP points, when fully tuned obviously, is 704. Very high, once again. And incidentally, the price tag is also pretty competitive at 1.9 million. So it's not the most expensive, it's not the least expensive, somewhere in the middle, which I would say is appropriate for an Audi R8. They are very good, they did win at Le Mans multiple times, so it is a legend. It's a modern icon of Le Mans, and even though it's not necessarily everyone's favourite anymore, people typically tend to want stuff like the Minoltas and, the Peugeot 905s and Pescarolos back, but still, this was a very, very good car. I mean, it won for a reason. It was a good machine. However, the question that matters the most is obviously, which is better, this one or the 2001 car? Because as you can see from the graphics of this car, Polyphony clearly were planning to include this one earlier on in the series. It has like PS2 era graphics, so for whatever reason they didn't do that, and we had the 2001 first, and that is of course the silver one. And incidentally, due to licensing reasons, even that car changed over time. In this game, for instance, if you look on the car, it doesn't say Infineon anymore, whereas back in the day it did, because of course licensing, all that kind of thing changes over time. That one tends to be the car that most people go for though. So is it actually better? Because being 50 kilos lighter is a pretty good advantage to have. Well, to put things simply, and to get to the primary point of that answer before I expound on it more, I would say that yes, the 2001 is a better car overall. The weight difference makes a huge difference. So even though this one is still more than powerful enough and certainly isn't slow, the other one is my go-to choice and is better through corners as far as I'm concerned. However, despite the fact that this is considerably heavier than a lot of the other prototypes, in fact this is the heaviest of all of the Audi prototypes, it's not a bad car by any stretch. In fact, quite to the contrary, that extra weight can sometimes allow you to have a certain advantage within category limits in terms of how much power the game will allow you to have because of that extra weight. It gives you a little bit more leeway in terms of performance points than, for instance, the regular one could have. So that's something to bear in mind, for instance, at La Sarthe, aka Le Mans, because having extra power on those straights can be a huge difference for the sake of a little bit of extra weight as well. So it's not that this car doesn't have a time and a place to be used, it's just that for an all-round vehicle, I would say that the 2001 is better. Now this one still has excellent handling through corners, and the funny thing is, even though the extra weight is often just thought of as a bad thing, period, it can sometimes be beneficial. For instance, a car that has over 1,000 horsepower and weighs 900 kilos, even with downforce and slick tyres, it can often be prone to wheel spin, or even sliding through corners. This one, having that little bit of extra weight, does help to ground those tyres that little bit more, which can help it off the line. It maybe doesn't wheel spin quite as much if you, of course, approach the throttle in the right way and don't just floor it all the time, because of course it's going to wheel spin with 1,050 horsepower if you do that. However, I think that this car doesn't really get the credit and the use that it deserves, and even back in the day, you would see far more people using the 2001. Now, as I said, that is with good reason. I would say it is the better car. But I think that this one, in a similar way to some of the Pescarolos that aren't the hybrid, so in other words the GV5 and the Team Courage, both of those are actually great as well. They're just not as good as the hybrid. Likewise with this one. This is possibly one of the weaker Audis, but that's still not saying much. All of the Audi prototypes are very good for different things. The R18 is a completely different kind of animal, much more of a cornering machine than the others. The R10 is the total opposite, absolute straight line missile, not so great through the corners though. And then you have the R8s, which funnily enough are a little bit of a mix of both. They're very good in a straight line, very good through corners. Of the two, go for the 2001 if that's the only choice you have. If, for instance, you don't want to pay for both, or you just don't want to own both cars, then I would say go for the silver one. However, if you are more, as I am, of a collector within the game and you like to try different things and maybe even give yourself more of a challenge, then try this one. It's still a very, very good car. It's almost like saying that one is excellent and one is great. Yes, it's technically not as good, but it's still great. That's kind of like what the situation is with this car. Is it as good? No, I don't think so. But it's still great in its own way. It's got a good top speed, good acceleration, good grip, forgiving handling as both of the R8s have, and it's also kind of an underdog. It's something of an unsung hero in the prototype category because no way near as many people use it. It also, to me at least, has a little bit of a Pescarolo kind of look to it with that livery. So overall, give it a chance if you want to try something different. If you absolutely must own the better one though, then play it safe and go for the 2001. But overall, that's it for this car review. Of course, stick around on the channel for more, and until next time I'll see you then. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.